One of the healthiest garden plants that you can grow are greens. But if you live in a hot climate, maybe you're limited to only growing greens during the cool season. Or if you live in a cold climate, it's your summer crop. But because greens are so healthy, you should be able to grow them year-round. And you know something? You can with the advice of our guest today. It's Renee Shepherd, the founder of reneesgarden.com. She is widely regarded as a pioneering innovator in introducing international vegetables, flowers, and herbs to home gardeners and gourmet restaurants. She founded Shepherd's Garden Seeds back in 1985, and she sold the company later on, and then established Renee's Garden to do what she likes best, searching out the very best seeds from around the world, testing them in her own garden, cooking and developing recipes around their unique characteristics, and sharing them with other gardeners. I've been a Renee's customer for years and years and years. Love them, especially the Sunset Mix Sweet Pepper. And she's the one, Renee is the one who gave me a tip a few years ago when I was bemoaning the lack of cilantro to make salsa in the summertime. Cilantro here in USDA Zone 9 is basically a cool season crop, so you'd like to have some cilantro when you're making salsa in the summer when the tomatoes and garlic and peppers and onions are ready. Well, she said, well, all you got to do is cut and come again with cilantro. Just grow it in a shady spot. When it gets a couple inches tall, you cut it and use it. Isn't that right, Renee?
Yes, the cut and come again method gives you a way to get several harvests of a lot of things that really wouldn't be able to take the heat.
Actually, I think it's perfect for anybody who wants to garden, because with a cut and come garden of greens, you probably need, if you're starting it now, you'd need a shady spot to grow it in a large container, or if you have a garden bed. But I would imagine, too, in a sunny window inside, you could grow this.
Well, I'm not 100% sure that you would have great results on a windowsill because it needs so much more light. You might get one cutting out of it, but I suggest you grow it outside for the best results.
How about indoors with grow lights?
Indoors with grow lights, that's certainly a possibility.
All right. We've just sold some more equipment there. All right. But there's a lot of greens that take well to the cut and come again method. You have a YouTube video at reneesgarden.com that explains how you do that. So go ahead and explain for our audience how exactly you grow leafy greens that will come back after you cut them.
Yes, well, we think of the cut and come again method as the way to grow the most greens in the smallest space in the shortest time. So it works for all lettuce mixes. It works for spinach and chard and kale, Asian greens, a lot of different things. It's not just for hot weather. It's really a way to get a lot of results from a small space. And it's a different way of growing things. So either in a bed or in a large container, you get a seed mix, or you pour out the seed in your hand, you prepare the soil, and then you shake the seed through your fingers so it kind of goes in the bed like grass seeds, not semi-packed, but you try to spread them out ideally so the seeds are half or an inch apart. And then you water it up, and when it gets about 4 to 5 inches tall at the most, you want to take a kitchen scissors or a snips and just cut off the top inches, leaving a 1-inch crown. So you want to leave a 1-inch crown in the ground and cut the rest. So you have 3 to 5 inches of greens, and you harvest as much as you need for a meal that day. In other words, the greens are going to come up densely, and if you wouldn't grow them to maturity because they were way too crowded and they wouldn't grow well and they get long and lanky. But if you harvest them at the baby leaf stage, they're young and tender and delicious. So let's say you had a bed a couple feet on a side, like 2 or 3 feet across and 2 or 3 feet wide. You could grow enough mesclun mix or baby lettuce mix to give you a lot of meals, and you'd cut as much as you needed. After you cut it, you fertilize again with a high nitrogen fertilizer like fish emulsion, if you're an organic gardener, which we are, and then get a second growth. In really hot weather, you would not get a third growth, but in the cool season, you can sometimes even get a third cutting. So it's cut and come again.
And how long does it take to produce the first crop, and then how long is it before you get a second crop?
I would say for the first crop, you're talking 30 to 45 days. And the second crop depends on the weather, but probably another couple weeks.
Would you grow it in sun or shade?
If it's very hot weather, I would certainly grow it where it's in afternoon shade. Or you can also cover it with shade cloth. But I'm not kind of claiming that you're going to get much of a crop if it's 100 degrees and baking in the sun. But I have seen growers in California up in the Sonoma era grow it under shade cloth, which is, mesh that you cover your bed with that reduces the amount of UV going in. But generally speaking, if it's getting really warm, then you should ideally grow it where it gets morning sun and afternoon shade. In the cool season, it doesn't really matter. It'll grow just fine. And I would say up till late spring, as soon as the weather starts to cool down.
I really like the idea of using the shade cloth for a very different reason. To keep the pests away, to keep the aphids, the whiteflies, the cabbage looper moth from laying eggs on those greens.
Well, the other nice thing about using cut and come again, you're only growing something 4 or 5 inches tall, and you're growing it thickly. So they don't get as much pests because they're not in the garden long enough. You know what I mean?
You have a lot of different mixes that you can use, and I imagine that you can kind of mix and match all the various spicy greens or just, shall we say, more, I don't know what you'd call it, mild greens that would be very nice in especially very colorful as well in a salad mix or however you want to use greens.
Let's say you have 2 containers or 2 places on your on a bed. Grow one to garden mesclun or baby leaf lettuce, or which is all kind of sweet reds and greens that are either smooth and buttery and crunchy. We make up our mixes by growing the varieties individually and then combining them, so you've got not just flavor and color but good mouthfeel, because you don't want all soft lettuces and you don't want all crispy lettuces. It's nice to have both. So you grow one, let's say we're talking about lettuce, you grow one baby leaf lettuce mix, and next to it you can grow, we have a spicy greens mix that has arugula and mustard and spicy things. And then you go out and say you want to make a salad for dinner, you harvest 2/3 lettuce and 1/3 spicy greens, so you can tailor it to your own taste. And you can certainly grow arugula as a cut and come again, and you can grow, lots of different things. Arugula is very fast growing. And frankly, it's not bitter when it's young, so you want to harvest it at no more than 4 inches.
And even at that height, though, the plant has developed its own character. It's got that shape that you recognize. It's going to be very colorful, too.
Well, most stores now sell mixes of baby leaf. So everyone knows what that is. But you can also buy baby kale and baby arugula. All these things can be grown in the cut and come method yourself. It's much cheaper and it's really easy to do, especially for people in limited spaces. You can grow a really nice salad garden and greens garden in containers in this fashion.
I would think then if you can get maybe 2 or 3 crops out of a cut and come again bowl of lettuce or a portion of a garden, that you'd want to have about 2 or 3 going, maybe plant the second batch a week or 2 after the first batch.
I would say a couple weeks. But, you don't have to have a big patch because it produces a lot of quantity of greens. So it's a good strategy for having long-term salads.
I noticed in your video when you were harvesting the greens when they're only 4 or 5 inches tall, all you did was you simply grabbed a handful of it and then cut it 1 inch above the soil line beneath your hand and took that in for dinner.
Yeah, you wrap your hand around a bunch of tops. And you cut underneath your hand, leaving 1 inch, and then you take that in for dinner, exactly as you say, that night. It's really tender and delicious when it's fresh. And here's the other thing. It's really tender and delicious. Just make a real simple vinaigrette, just, like mild rice vinegar or whatever kind of vinegar you like, and really good olive oil, and that's really all you need.
Oh, speaking of that, you have recipe books.
Well, that's true. We have a huge trial garden where we trial and evaluate new varieties and grow many different kinds of the same variety. So we've always come up with recipes on what to do with it. Because if we have convinced you to, say, grow radicchio, you're going to need some radicchio recipes. And if you grow pole beans and you've used up the 3 ways you always make beans, you might want some new ideas. So the cookbooks I've written are all alphabetical by vegetable, so you can look up whatever you're harvesting.
And you can find those cookbooks online at renesgarden.com.
We're growing lots of basil. We plant a second crop of basil, so we'll have it ripe when the tomatoes come.
There you go. Yeah, that's and basil can last quite a while as well. I'm always amazed at parsley because it's a biennial, and so you can get 2 years worth of harvest from that.
Well, that's true. We usually plant 2 crops a year, so when we're in zone 8, we'll overwinter, and then we plant another one. So yes, I like Italian broadleaf parsley better than most other herbs. It's my favorite. It's very healthy, too, and tastes so good.
Not only that, but in its second year, when it does start to flower, it attracts a whole host of beneficial insects.
Yes, and that's certainly something that a lot of gardeners are really getting into, is seeing their gardens as a way to create backyard habitat and encourage pollinators and solitary bees and all kinds of beneficial insects and songbirds, not just feeding them, but feeding nature. It's really important and something all gardeners can really do.
Behooves every gardener to build the Good Bug Hotel.
Well, absolutely, but that just means plant lots of wonderful annual flowers that they all can feast upon.
That's right, and a wide variety of plants, too. You want birds in your yard? Well, have some evergreen shrubs where they can hide out in.
Yes, I think thinking of your garden as a habitat and source of food and pleasure, not only for you, but by everything that surrounds you in nature, is really an important concept, because I think we are the source of a lot of habitat in our suburban and city gardens more than we know, and it's becoming more and more important.
Anything else you want to cover in this?
This is kind of the height of we're getting into the real end of summer, so as soon as the weather starts to cool down would be a good time to launch another round of cut and come again. It's something you can do really quickly and easily, and if you're a beginning gardener, it's a great way to get going. And besides lettuces, because I mostly talked about that, but you can grow, it really is fun to grow baby chard and baby kale, which is really more tender than mature kale, and spinach, and so there's really quite a few greens that can be grown in this fashion.
Is green kale, in your estimation, tastier than ornamental kale?
Oh, about 1,000%.
Okay.
Ornamental kale was bred for ornamental purposes, mostly in Japan originally. It really is designed to be pretty. Is it also edible? Yes. Is it delicious? Not particularly.
We should point out that at renesgarden.com, you can find all sorts of seeds available, mixes available for the container kitchen garden. So indeed, if you do have a limited space to work with, maybe a sunny patio or less, there's a lot of good mixes that will work for you in containers.
Yeah, we kind of specialize in varieties for containers. So we have container chilies and container peppers and container cucumbers and container eggplants and container zucchini. A really nice French variety that really does well in a container watermelons, lots of these container cut and come again mixes, because that's something we really look for. And our other varieties all tend to be, in vegetables at least, varieties chosen for wide adaptability and great flavor, because we eat them ourselves.
You test them yourselves, too?
Yes, we have a large trial garden both here in Northern California near Santa Cruz and also in Vermont.
Talk a little bit about the Ortolana de Faenza zucchini, and I'm sure I butchered that name.
That is not the container variety. That is a very traditional Italian striped zucchini, and it is characterized by a very nutty taste, just really sweet and nutty and custardy. It's a very delicious one. The French seed that we get, which is the container variety, is called Muscat. And then last year we introduced the opposite, which is a climbing zucchini, which will crawl up a trellis. And I really like, because then you can break off the fruits off the vine standing up. You don't have to go bending over and trying to find them, and they don't hide. So we've got one for a zucchini for any use.
Yeah, the climbing zucchini, by the way, has the obvious name of Incredible Escalator.
Yes, it's from a German company, and they just had a number for it. So they allowed me to name it, and since it moved quickly and up, I thought I'd name it Escalator.
Well, just in my own defense, I am growing that Ortolana de Fins zucchini in a large barrel, and it's doing just fine.
That's one of my favorites, actually, flavor-wise, and they make just beautiful fruit. And if you roast them whole, they're just, and with olive oil and garlic, they're just delicious. Or any other way you can think to enjoy them, they're just really, really excellent flavor. Container zucchini works well because it's non-vining. It grows like a bush, and zucchini are all easily pickable, and it's a very beautiful plant. It's very ornamental.
I would be remiss if I did not ask you at this time of the year, what can you do with an overgrown zucchini that you found hiding under the leaves?
Well, I don't get them too often because I'm too greedy. I always go out and look almost every other day. I am not an expert on overgrown zucchini, so I don't think I'll have anything really new and exciting to tell you. You can cut them in half and scoop out the insides and make a filling with the zucchini inside sautéed with rice and Italian sausage and basil, and then stuff the shell and bake it, topped with olive oil. And a little, Italian kind of seasonings. That's nice. I
guess I'll just continue feeding the big ones to the worms.
Yeah, or get a neighbor with chickens.
There's that.
Will be very, and I would say that is the highest use of overgrown zucchini, is trade them with people with chickens in return for an egg or two once in a while.
Oh, I used to trade them to the neighbor's cows.
Well,
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes, to that. Fall is for planting. August and September is for planning. And think about what your family will eat. Try some new varieties as well. Don't start too big. Start with a small patch if you've never grown something before. See if your family likes it. And experience something new. USDA zones 9 and 8 and even 7 can have a cool season garden, perhaps with some protection. But there's no reason why you can't be out there gardening most of the year.
Well, I do have to tell you that I used to get invited to this one family's Thanksgiving feast every year, and I really never saw them much and didn't know them very well, and I couldn't figure out why they so much wanted me to come to Thanksgiving, and I found out it was because of the fall garden produce I bought. So there you are. I brought a great big salad with all those wonderful fall greens, and that's why they invited me. So obviously everybody can grow lots of delicious things for fall. It's really worth doing and fun, and it's easier because as the weather cools down, there's less pests. Things stay well in the garden. You can have a whole nother crop of root vegetables, lots of greens. Some of the healthiest things can be grown in the cooler fall weather, and they don't take as much energy because there's not as much weeds. Actually, the easiest time of year.
Exactly. And with your international expertise in the world of vegetables, the wide variety of bok choys, of Chinese cabbages is amazing.
Yes, we've had more and more Asian greens just because they're fast and easy and so healthy. We really try to look and feature things that are high nutrition. Most of all, deliciousness is our highest criteria.
There you go. Find out more at reneesgarden.com. Noted seedswoman Renee Shepard has been our guest. Renee, thanks for all the good advice about the cut and come again garden.
Well, thank you very much for talking with me. I've really enjoyed it.